Mateys, welcome to Sea of Thieves. This is Damron. We're playing the new update in Sea of Thieves, which brings a new tall tale, the Seabound Soul. And there's a lot of other stuff in this update. It's a really cool update. You got fire cannonballs, ammo crates, lots of really cool stuff, lots of new mercenary missions, a lot of other cool things in this update. But this video, we're going to be talking about the new tall tale, the Seabound Soul. This is going to be a complete guide. We're going to show you everything, as well as the Ashen Journal locations and the Artefact locations. So if you're coming just for that, those are going to be at the end of the video, just like all my other tall tale guides. So keep that in mind. If you're just coming for the collectibles, you can go to the end of the video. I'll timestamp that for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Dive right in. You can find the tall tale book at Shipwreck Bay, and it's going to be up in the shipwreck on Shipwreck Bay in the captain's quarters. And by selecting that, Pendragon's going to come out of his portrait, and you're going to start this tall tale. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil the story component of it for you. It's a pretty cool story. So he's going to talk to you for a little bit, and he's going to give you a new tall tale book, as well as a special lantern that you're going to be using in this quest. Now, this isn't as variable as some of the original tall tales, and the puzzles aren't that difficult. It's relatively straightforward. The couple times that I did play it, for instance, the same message, I had to go east from Shipwreck Bay every time. It could be variable, but when you go to the back of the book, your first clue is going to be the first lost soul. Everything before that, it's kind of lore. And you can see in the middle it says heading east from Shipwreck Bay. You're looking for the Ashen Dragon. So if you head east from Shipwreck Bay, or whatever direction it tells you to go, just in case it tells you to go another direction, you're going to see some ships in the distance, and you need to go towards those ships. And this is going to be a common theme throughout this tall tale. As you approach those ships, they're going to disappear, and what you need to take note of is the direction that those ships are facing, and that's going to tell you which direction to keep going. You see they're kind of facing east by southeast there, so I go east by southeast. And after you catch up to them twice, the third time you're going to notice that the ships actually separate. One kind of goes off into the distance, and then the Ashen Dragon is over here on my left. You want to go to the Ashen Dragon first, and if you go over there, you're going to see a sunken ship now. And if you read the Tall Tale book, he says, here I'm looking for Martha Jane's soul who was at this shipwreck, and I need to use my lantern. So that's going to let us know, if you just jump in the water, where this shipwreck is and use our lantern, you're actually going to find the captain in this shipwreck, which is a pretty cool little scene. Love the music there, but once you see her sink, right where she hits the ground is where you're going to find the skull of Captain Martha Jane. Now, once you pick up the skull, lucky for you, Pendragon just spiritually travels around the world, so you don't actually have to go back to Shipwreck Bay. He's going to be on the island right where this shipwreck was. Now, keep in mind, where this island is could be different for you. You need to follow the ships, and that's the variation in this, and it's not really difficult to understand. You just need to follow the direction that the ships are going, and once you do that, it'll take you to that first shipwreck, and whatever island is beside that shipwreck is where Pendragon's going to be, and where you need to give him the skull. And once you do that, it's actually going to be kind of a lengthy conversation of Martha Jane and him, and after that conversation ends, you're going to get another page added to your book. And this page is also variable, but it's always going to be kind of on the way to the Ashen Lands, and the biggest key is the picture. This is clearly Kraken's Fall. If you've been playing the game at all, you know that's a very characteristic look, but the picture is going to be of an island that you need to go to. If you have a little bit of difficulty, the text will help you as well. For instance, this one says he's hiding where the monsters were slain, so that's Kraken's Fall, because now we're looking for Randall Stone, who was in that other ship that fled from the Ashen Dragon as it split off and Martha Jane was sunk. So now we need to go there. We need to go to Kraken's Fall, and you may actually have to, you see kind of how I was circling around this island, you may need to go around around the island so you can actually get the Ashen Dragon in your view. You don't need to get on the island, but what you're actually looking for is from that island, once you're there, wherever it takes you. Just keep in mind it can be different than Kraken's Fall. You're looking off into the distance to find the Ashen Dragon. And then the same story, now you're going to chase it. As you get closer, it's going to disappear, but you just need to head into the direction that it was facing, and as you do that, you're going to get closer and closer to the next step. It's about 2 times every time. It's going to disappear twice, but eventually you're going to get to another island that the Ashen Dragon is at. See, so I just kind of look into the distance in the place it was facing, and I can see its next location. So here we go. Now the Ashen Dragon has sunk the second ship. This one's a little bit different. It took me to Scorched Pass, I believe, but again, it can take you different places. You may not go to Scorched Pass for this, so I can't emphasize that enough. You just need to follow the direction that the ghost ships are facing. For me, it took me to the Scorched Pass, and this one you're not actually going to go to the sunken ship. You're going to go onto the island wherever it took you. And previous to an old tale, where you had to follow some footsteps of ghosts past, you're going to have to do that again with your lantern lit. Light your lantern, follow the footsteps, and eventually you're going to see the scene on whatever island this part takes you to. So once you see that scene right there, that's going to be like, okay, the skull's there, so you need to dig, and you're going to have to dig this one up. And once you do that, you're going to have the next skull in this piece of the tall tale to give the Pendragon. Randall Stone, his death spot, now you've got his skull. And just like before, you're going to give that to Pendragon. You're going to get a little more of the story, which I'll skip for you, so I don't want to ruin the story for you. So give him the skull, and then after he talks with Randall Stone for a little bit, we're going to get the next piece of the tall tale.
Another trapped soul rescued from now.
Alright, so moving on, this is the final portion of the tall tale, so it's not really that long, but it's going to give you a map of the Ashen Lands. This is always going to take place in the Ashen Lands, so you just need to, don't worry about the text on the left, but match up the map on the right with islands in the Ashen Lands. And it is kind of blurry, but it's a small area, right? The Ashen Lands isn't that big, but mine matches up here, right? Fletcher's Rest, Scorched Pass, you can see on the left part of the book, and on the right is the Molten Sands Fortress, and the Molten Sands Fortress is circled, so that's where I need to go. And keep in mind, this also can be variable. So here's another one I got, and this one is actually circling Mora's Peak Outpost. So it can be variable where you start, but nonetheless, let's go back to the fortress of the first book. And when you get there, it's again going to spawn the Ashen Dragon in the distance. Now, this part of the tall tale is always going to end at the same place, but you have to go to where the Ashen Dragon initially is and despawn it in order for it to spawn at the next place, which is always going to be Flintlock Peninsula. So you have to go to the island that's circled, and that's going to spawn it in the distance, and when you see it, you have to go to that and despawn it, and then eventually come to Flintlock Peninsula. And nonetheless, it's always going to end right here on the southwestern portion of Flintlock Peninsula. And if you see, when you get here, it's going to be parked right on the southwest portion of this island. So let's hop off, and if we use our lantern again, this is actually pretty cool. It's a skeleton lord carrying a sarcophagus through this, and again, you're going to follow the footsteps of Ghost Pass, right? And you're going to go around this island. And if you've been here, you've been playing Sea of Thieves, you've known this cave's existed, you've known something was going to happen, we just didn't know what. And you know what, it's pretty awesome what happens at the end. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil that for you, but it's a really cool part of the story. So anyway, we fall that down into this beautiful cave that we've never been through before, but now we have a spiritual friend who can walk right through that wall and get us on the other side.
The way ahead seems clear. We must be getting close.
So once you're up in here, you just need to open the sarcophagus, and you're going to get the last skull in this tall tale. Once you have the skull, you're going to head back out of this cave, and when you exit this cave, you're going to get attacked by a new skeleton type, kind of forsaken skeletons. They look pretty cool. It's nice to have a new skin on them, but they're pretty easy to defeat. They're not strong at all, and once you kill them, you're actually at the end of the tall tale. You're going to pick up the skull, and once you give it to Pendragon, who's just on the outside of this cave entrance, that's the end of the tall tale. Okay, so we're not going to do that. As always, we need to get our Ashen Journals and our artifacts before we finish the tall tale. You need to do this while on the tall tale, so keep that in mind. So the first Ashen Journal is going to be on Shipwreck Bay. It's going to be in the captain's quarters where you start the tall tale. It'll appear after you start the tall tale. Remember, you have to be on the tall tale to collect these books and the artifacts. So go into the captain's quarters. Here's the tall tale book. Turn right around, and sitting on this crate is your first Ashen Journal. The second Ashen Journal is just going to be a little bit east of Shipwreck Bay, slightly east of Crooked Mass, onto Shiver Retreat. If you go onto this small island, here's the rock here. If you go around, you're going to see it right here on top of this barrel. Moving on a little bit further east to Liar's Backbone, you're going to get onto this island. I was here in a storm. It was kind of annoying. But once you get onto Liar's Backbone, just go all the way up the little hill, all the way to the western side of the hill, and you're going to find a dead tree. It's going to be on the back side of that dead tree. Ashen Journal number 4 is going to be at Scorched Pass. Now we're in the Ashen Lands. The Scorched Pass, once you get here, you're going to see the small little islet off the eastern side of Scorched Pass. Just go over there, and you're going to find the journal on top of a rock in the middle of the grass patch. Our final Ashen Journal is going to be on Flintlock Peninsula, where the tall tale ends. This journal is going to be on the northeastern side of Flintlock Peninsula, so just go over there however you want. What you're going to look for, just as a point of reference, is that little brazier on the rock. When you see that, just turn around, and you're going to see some barrels in this little nook here of rocks, and it's going to be right on a little step stool in front of those barrels. So that's all the journals, so let's move on. There's another collectible in this tall tale, which is the artifacts. The first one's going to be at Tri-Rock Isle. The artifacts are a little bit different because you have to have the lantern in order to see where to dig them. And you can actually sell these to the gold hoarders, but they're absolutely worthless. But once you get to Tri-Rock Isle, pull out your lantern, and what you're looking for is a skeleton ghost that's going to dig, and you're just going to dig in that same spot to get your first artifact. Alright, moving on to the second artifact is going to take us to Cinder Islet. We've moved on a little bit further east. Again, another small island. Once we get on Cinder Islet, just kind of go back all the way to the southern portion of the island. Left side of this rock here, you're going to see the skeleton. Try not to get launched up in the air by guys while you're trying to dig it, though. Alright, and the final artifact is going to be on Cursewater Shores. This one was a little tricky to find, actually. It took me a minute to find it. He's like tucked away in a rock. But anyway, go ahead and go onto the island. If you go kind of all the way to the east by southeast side, all the way at the edge of this rock is where he's going to be. So that'll get you all of the artifacts and the commendation associated with that. So now we can turn in the ancient skull, and you're gonna see a really cool cutscene right here. I
Whoever
think
this
you're
poor
gonna
soul may
enjoy
be,
it, and that's gonna give you the entomb commendation. And now we have all the commendations because we got all of the journals and all of the artifacts. You're just gonna have to complete this 2 more times. Unlike the original Tall Tales, you had to do 5. You only have to do this 3, so that's good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Big thanks to everybody that's been following me thus far. I've had a lot of support. The channel's been growing, so I really, really appreciate that. If you haven't seen the shanty, the new Sea of Thieves shanty I put up, go check that out. It's pretty hilarious. But I hope you guys found this helpful, and we'll see you on the seas.